Yo, what is good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Man, we are finally green. Look at all of these green stocks over here in the watch list. But with that being said, we got Apple up almost 2%, Nvidia up almost 3%, Tesla 5, almost 6% on Tesla, Google 3, Microsoft 3, or 2, I guess, but Meta 4, Amazon 2. We got some bank stocks up and stuff like that. We're going to be talking about why. We're going to be giving you guys the news, my outlook on the market, and everything like that. I'm not saying that we're fully bearish, or I'm not saying that we're fully bullish on the stock market yet, but with that being said, we are getting some bullish sense coming in, and we got some decent data from the CPI. So we're gonna be talking about all of that today and some other things too. Bitcoin almost at 100K and some other stocks. That being said, let's start off with the top daily gainers. We got IonQ, which is a big stock, 30%, RGTI 16%, and some other ones. We got some top daily losers, none that I'm really familiar with, but we got them 11%, 11%, 10. So just keep your eyes on this. Most active stocks, we got Nvidia, SoundHound AI, which I want to talk about later. Tried to tell you guys to buy this one multiple times, man. 6% already, and it's only going up from there. We did have like a buy and then a dip, so we're gonna be talking about SoundHound a little bit more. With that being said, we're gonna start off with the CPI data. So we did get some that is kind of in line, and we got some that is below. We also got some news that energy prices jumped in December, basically setting up the overall inflation. That being said, we got gas prices up 4.4% in December, and this kind of showed on the inflation data, setting inflation up. Another thing is something on the side note, but basically EVs kind of don't pay the tax for roads, and they're kind of just he's kind of just saying that electric vehicles should pay to use the roads, basically, since technically you don't, because you don't pay the taxes, basically. So just keep that in mind. I guess this might bring down some EV stocks a little bit, probably not, or just people buying EVs overall. But with that being said, we got some great bank earnings. I think we got banks up like 5% at market open, which is insane, and they're still doing pretty decent right now. But with the CPI, we had a big price increase in a bunch of stocks. Like the SPY was up almost 2%, but we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But basically, Microsoft has a new program that's giving quantum stocks basically reviving them, honestly, because quantum stocks kind of went down recently. And then I think recently they got funded, and now this program. So quantum stocks are just rising heavily. So keep that in mind if you're investing in quantum stocks. Like we got 15%, 14%, 30%, 40%. So keep this in mind if you're investing in quantum stocks. I'm pretty bullish on them. So keep that in mind. We also have a ceasefire. Another thing is that we got somebody putting $100 billion investment in mining, because it is kind of, they need to do it fast as possible, because just the instant demands for energy and minerals is getting even more insane. We also have SpaceX kind of getting sued for, or not really sued, I guess not yet, or fined right now, but basically on the safety of the full self-driving. And I think before we had a big accident in 2023, and I think four other ones reported, and they kind of want to investigate a little bit more, but they're trying to do. Oh, and they also had a recall of 2.6 million vehicles, but they kind of just want a $633,000 fine on it, which honestly isn't even that insane for the business. You've seen worse. You've seen Apple honestly get sued for like what, $93 million. So with that being said, this is kind of small, but this can make it look a little bit bad and make the self-driving kind of look worse. So keep that in mind if you're investing in Tesla. We also got Tesla bouncing off that 420 today. So Tesla is coming up, but at the same time, he also got sued for the Twitter deal. So basically, in short, when Elon bought Twitter, I think he sold a bunch of Tesla shares, and he bought Twitter without announcing it, or bought a bunch of shares without announcing it. So basically making him buy it at a premium, because once he announced it, the stock kind of soared. So he kind of was profitable right when he bought it. So he bought it before the stock soared, basically before the stock went up. So he bought a bunch of shares, and they're kind of just finding him for his basically finding him for the profits that he made. Next, we got MicroStrategy, which is a big stock that I've been looking at today and recently, because it moves big with Bitcoin, and I think they own like 2% of Bitcoin, but people are giving them 0% interest loan basically to buy Bitcoin. And with that being said, once they do that, they basically get shot at gains of their stock, basically. So it is kind of a win-win in both scenarios, because MSTR wins and investors win too, just because how good the stock is doing. But we did have a big fluctuation today, and we're kind of in a bearish sense on the 4 hour. So we're making higher highs or higher lows. Sorry, higher lows on the 4 hour time frame. But the stock basically moves with Bitcoin. Honestly, their business isn't really that like profitable, but they're profiting off the Bitcoin holdings. But we're making constant higher lows. And the same thing, if you look at Bitcoin on the 4 hour time frame, you got the same thing forming. I mean, the stock moves with Bitcoin. But basically, I said in a few videos ago, I think we're going to bounce off that 100K. I'm still not sure because of the CPI data. We might break that 100K and break this bearish trend. But with that being said, right now, this is kind of what I'm looking at right now. We are green for the day or for the previous 4 hour time frame. But with that being said, we might see another bounce downwards and then we might break it. But this is kind of what I'm looking at right now. And we did kind of almost hit that 100K, but we kind of bounced off. And as you can see, just making a lower high. So keep that in mind. But I was big into MSTR today and I kind of shorted it today, making a decent amount of money. Let me zoom in a little bit. So my original short was supposed to be at 365 to 360. I tried to tell you at 360, 365, but I think I got in at around 363 and sold at around 358, making a decent gain for today. With that being said, I think MSTR is a decent long-term, not really long-term hold, but if you can find it at good levels, like previously we bounced off for Bitcoin. I think we bounced off the 102K, and that's kind of where we were here. And if you see a decent bounce, you kind of see it moving a little bit, and then you can buy a short. And then with that being said, we were all the way at 382, and we bounced all the way down to 335 the next day. Another call, like the buy it on the upside, we were all the way down to 309, and then or the next day, we're gonna look at the next day, and we're all the way up to 354. And if you had held it again, you would have been at 360. But with that being said, this is a good stock to look at if you want to make some decent gains. And they're pretty safe, but just look at how Bitcoin moves before you get into this one. Another one I want to look at is Tesla, because Tesla, we did bounce off that 420. Market is not closed. We still have a few more hours for market, so we might break past that 420 level. So keep that in mind before you invest or you look at any of these levels. But I think for tomorrow and for the rest of the day, I'm going to be looking at that 420 level to see if we can finally break it. If we can break that 420 level, looking at 425 and another key level at 430, we might bounce off the 430, or we might keep on going up to the 440 level, 450, 460. But to the downside, because we do got some bad news with Tesla, but it's not too bad. It's not affecting the stock too much, but you normally see it maybe after hours or the next day. So we can look at the downtrend. I think 416 is a key level, 414 is a key level, 411 and then 410. So if we bounce below that 410, we might see it bounce all the way down to that 400 level, break down below that, and then get back down to the 390 levels. Maybe 395, 393 might bounce again, but might bounce below a little bit more. But honestly, when I give you guys these price actions, look at the ones closer. That one's going to be kind of the next day one, and then the farther out one is going to be later on if we're still consistently bearish or bullish. I try to give you guys both sides so you guys know which way to play it both ways. We got NVIDIA coming back. We got 135. I'm very, very pumped to see what happens at the 140 level once again, and then see if we can go to that 150 level and maybe break some highs of that 153 level. But with that being said, let's look at some levels. So one line that I seen that was pretty beneficial was a 133.7 level to the downside. We bounced off of it previously, and we kind of had some fluctuations right here. But with that being said, we are past it as a support. So now it's just a support, but some resistant levels. I think looking at the 136 and then 137 is a key level. 138, 139 is a big one too. 139.6 and then 140 is going to be a big one. We might see a bounce off of it, or we might break past it. Going back down to the downside, I'll look at 134.5, 133.7. This one's going to be a big one. If we can break below that, we're probably going to see 133 once again, and maybe some lows all the way down to that 131 level. And also look at 130, because if it gets down to 130, we're probably going to be bearish overall and going down, but I don't think we'll get that this week. And I don't think we're going to get any more bearish sense this week. That being said, SPY, we kind of did bounce off that 590 level downside and then going back up. I do want to see how it's going to react to the 593 level. So if it breaks past the 593, we might see 595, 597, and then maybe do that 600, maybe by Friday, but maybe not. We might see that next week. Back down to the downside, especially that 590 level. We're going to look at 589, 588, 587, kind of the dollar supports on, or dollar resistance, or dollar supports, And then we're going to go back down to the level before the CPI data, and we're going to look at the key level of 584.6. Keep that in mind. Amazon, we're looking pretty decent, but we're kind of low from where we opened up at. But with that being said, we'll look at it at the upside, back breaking past that 223.4, and then downside breaking that 220. And then if it breaks down below there, just look at some 219, 219, 220, 219, and then all the way down to that 217. But to the upside, if we do break this high for the day, 223, we're gonna look at 224, 224.3, and 226.2. Apple, we were very, very bullish at first, but then we bounced off that 238 level to the 239 level, and we're kind of just fluctuating right now to 237.6, and then kind of to the downside of the 236, and then 230, or around the 236. Sorry, but with that being said, we're gonna be looking at it to the upside because we can see some decent trends if we can break that 238 level. So look at 239 as a key level, and then 240 if we can break that 240. 241, and then honestly I think in the future, maybe not next week, but maybe the week after, we might see it testing that 250 level once again if we continue bullish and we don't have bad news, if the market is overall green. But to the downside, I'll look at that 235 level, 236, going down to 234, 233, 231, and then especially that 230 level is going to be key. That being said, the stock that we were talking about before, SoundHound, we do have a constant bullish trend, but then we kind of lost it a big time, and then we're kind of just bouncing. We're making lower highs, as you guys can see. We got to see how this one forms too, because we might make another lower high and keep going down. So keep that in mind if you want to short this stock. But with that being said, if you want to look at it on the downside, I'll look at 13.5, 13.3, and then all the way down here to the 12.9 level. But if you want to play it up, just look at these levels, honestly, where it made the lower highs, the 14 level, and then especially where it bounced to 14.6, and then going up past the 15 level is going to be key. Going to look at Bitcoin first. Just like I said before, we're making those lower highs on the 4-hour time frame. With that being said, we're kind of fluctuating. We're kind of bouncing off the 99.6, but at the same time, I don't think we'll hit 100K soon. But if we do, we're going to break past it and maybe get 101 to 102 and then bounce. But we might hit that 104 also. Or if we go to the downside, I'll look at 97 and then maybe 96. But I don't think we'll get lower than that because we got some good news with the CPI and it's just moving Bitcoin, especially with the MSTR news, with like giving out more loans for them to buy more. It's just looking great for it, honestly. But with that being said, with MSTR, we did have a constant downward trend with the Bitcoin not really meeting the 100K and people kind of just selling off at that point. With that being said, I'll look at the key levels of 360, and then 363, and then going up maybe 370. And then if we break, I think if we break the 100K, we'll get 370. And then if we break past it, we might see 380 once again. But if we go to the downside and we don't see Bitcoin very, very strong anymore, we might see it down maybe past the 354, 353, and then the 350 level is going to be key. And then if Bitcoin keeps falling, we can probably see it all the way down to the 340. This stock moves decent, but it moves decent after hours, so keep that in mind. So you can either play it up or down, but I recommend just looking at. So for this stock, I kind of just played based on certain levels and how Bitcoin's really moving. Like if we broke the 100K and then we reach some highs, once again, I might play like a 380 and just do a put. And then downside, like I said earlier, maybe at like the 300 or maybe the 310 level, I'll buy a call and just hold it for a couple weeks or maybe just a couple days, but buy it for a couple weeks in advance. But with that being said, that's some of the stocks that we're looking at. We're looking pretty decent with the overall market, and hopefully we can continue this bullish trend and start going upwards this time. But it's not promised. Still be bearish because tomorrow we might have a bearish day. You never know what could happen with the market and what could happen with the investors. So just keep that in mind before you guys invest. Invest strong. Comment down below how much money you guys made today. And let me know what other stocks you guys are interested in me looking at. These are just the basic ones that I'm looking at. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and join our Discord. And look at some of those links in the description to get some free stocks and a chance to get one Bitcoin. That's almost 100K right there. You could win just by clicking a link and signing in. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.